Hey everyone, welcome back to From 1 to 100, a podcast by Inspires. In this show, we will sit with tech builders, investors, and researchers in Singapore and South Asia to talk about what it actually takes to build something meaningful. My name is Lynn, and I'm a commercial director of Inspires. With us, you're gonna have access to the best tech talents in Vietnam. At the end of today's show, I'm gonna review our latest AI recruitment agent, a tool that will help you to hire faster, smarter with real data and evidence. Today, we are talking about something that is changing really fast, but most businesses are not able to keep up with, which is AI and compliance. We will talk about what is actually working well with AI and the concerns that we should be more aware of, and where we absolutely think that we will still need humans in the room. And today we will have a perfect guest to unpack this topic together. Please welcome Glenn, co-founder of Zavior, an AI-powered platform that is helping businesses in Singapore and Australia with cybersecurity, data protections, IT management, and especially AI governance. Hi, Glenn. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lynn. Happy to have me.
Thank you. Let's start from the beginning. What is the most crucial, important issues that you have seen in the market at that time led you to build Zavior?
Well, it's a interesting question, right? A lot of times I realize that we're trying to build a company, right? I have a lot of friends who run other companies. I used to serve a lot of companies, right? And then one of the biggest pain points is that we always focus on sales, right? But then the other pain point that we have to always do is usually finance and then also compliance, right? And compliance in finance is getting all the books right. But then there's also compliance in making sure your environment, your company, right, is safe for your team, for your users. And actually also the most sensitive part, which is some of your client data, right? How does your client data actually get like stored correctly? And then how do you actually govern and have a business operations that actually help that, right? So that a lot of times people think is important, but we still somehow focus only on sales, but we don't realize that, that element sometimes can actually put us down and actually can make the company lose in the long term as well. So I think from that, we realized that, hey, like we need to find a way to make this more simpler, make this more accessible, and also make this more helpful to everyone who's actually running, so that they can maybe focus more on the sales part, but also automate some of the stuff that have to do with compliance. Yeah.
So, how AI has been helping you in making these things simpler and more efficiently?
I think we're in an amazing time of the world, honestly. I wish I had AI 5 years ago, right, in everything I do. But now AI is here, and I think AI is an important part of our lives moving forward. But I think I see that as a very practical way of saying, look, we when we first got introduced to something like the Office suite, right, you have docs, spreadsheets, right? It is so exciting for the first time, right? I used to have this internal joke when I first used Excel. If some of you who watch know the number 65535, okay, that's actually the number of rows limitation that Excel first had, right? So that means I've crunched data all the way down to that, right? But what's also interesting is that when you work with tools like that, right, people could just use Excel to put notes, right, your day-to-day notes. But now, right, if you are an expert user in Excel, you have macros, you have other things. So if you think of that in the same context of AI, right, AI is actually generally still just a tool, right? Yes, there will be more things that it will do. It has more autonomy. But at the end of the day, it's a technology that we actually have control over. And so AI is essentially, you can still use it to do notes, which a lot of people still do, right? But what's also different right now in the world is that, hey, like, how do I use AI better? How do I use AI for my day-to-day? How do I use AI for my team to grow the company, to handle my compliance, handle every part of the world? So I think AI is definitely now going to be a mainstay in every single domain, right? And I think especially in things that are boring, right? Which is sometimes compliance. Yeah.
I see. And
I think it's really amazing that you has been building Zavior and use it efficiently in the way that will help other businesses simplify their compliance work. And I can imagine that seeing the gap in the market is just the first step. But building a real business and running it is another thing that is not easy. So could you share with us the most difficult, the darkest moment that you have faced in the entire process of building Xavier?
Mm. Well, I wouldn't say darkest, right? But I think the what some of the biggest challenges in building a company, it's always about having the market fit, right? You it's kind of like you go out on a date, right? You dress your best, right? You want the other partner to be excited to meet you, right? But sometimes in the world of business, right, we dress ourselves nonstop. We look in the mirror 1,000 times. Then we realize we didn't walk out the house, right? And I think that's kind of things that sometimes we focus too much on building, right? And then for the rest, for another group of people, when they start their business, they go out there, they never care about how they look, but they just go out and meet people, right? But every time they meet someone, they have a bad experience because that person really didn't get his house in order. He didn't look clean. He or she didn't look like perfect for the date, right? So I think in that same context, I think the biggest challenge is always balancing that, right? How do you dress appropriately for your clients, for your partners? And how do you actually have this ability to, balance that life, right? Which is you need to build a product that is useful for your clients, but you also need to make sure that it's scalable for them, right? And then if there is a feedback from your client, you have to be able to respond fast, right? So I think these are all the you feel like you're juggling all these things, right? But these are some of the toughest parts in running a business. And I think for us as well, in the early days, we know that there's a pain point, right? So there are people who mention that they have to go through this. But one thing we learn about compliance in the current state of mind is people think that compliance is an important thing, but it's not an urgent thing, right? But I think that's kind of the biggest challenges we face because everyone says that, like, oh yeah, I need to do it. But then the when is always the issue, right?
Yeah.
But what's happening now that to overcome that and how we also realize what's happening is that now no longer it's just not urgent anymore. It's starting to become urgent because teams are using AI. They don't know how they're using AI. They don't know where and what AI is doing. And then after they think that they have a safe environment, they still don't know what actually goes out, right? So, like, I think the market has changed, the world has changed to a level whereby if you want to talk about AI, yes, but you still need to do the basics right, right? You still need to put on a pair of clothes that are clean, right? So I think that's the challenges that we face, in the early days of trying to get the best market fit for what we're trying to sell, what we're trying to do, and the value we're bringing as well. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I think it's a very honest answer. I'm sure a lot of tech founders out there can totally relate to the problem that you just shared.
Yep.
So I'm just curious, what's the one lesson that you have learned from facing that challenge that is still shaping how you run the business until today?
I think one thing we learn as any business, right, and especially in a startup, right, or in a company that is young and lean, you always have to be sensitive to listening.
Yeah.
Right. I think listening is one of the greatest assets that we ever have. Right. We always say, God only gave us one mouth, and then 2 ears. So technically, we should listen more, right? But what that also means is that we need to, whenever we're building something, whenever we're giving value to someone, we have to also try to listen. What is the response of that person, right? Like that's such an important asset. So whether you build something in the boring space of compliance, whether even you build like an exciting like fashion brand, listening to the audience, listening to people, and then of course after listening is iteration, right? You have to learn to listen very well, and then you have to learn to iterate. And after you iterate, what do you do next? Listen again. So I think that's kind of like the biggest lessons we've learned as well as a business or as a solution or as a person that is bringing value. You have to listen way more than you think. And then for some of us, are founders, who build, sometimes you don't tend to listen enough. So I think that's a tip I learned over the years, that we have to listen more.
I think that's a really amazing answer. And I must say, if we keep listening to the feedback and do something about it, it will allow us to keep moving forward and keep creating more things and to be able to stay, ahead of the market. So I think that's really useful. And on the same note, right, since you mentioned that AI has been helping you a lot in building Zavior, I can see that it's not just about helping, but it's also changing and empowering the way that a compliance team look like today. So please, can you just share with us what the most amazing, impressive thing that you have seen AI do in compliance?
I think compliance, or even things that are repetitive, right, are things that we always don't like as humans. Okay, you don't like to walk up to the same house and all the time. Sometimes you want to change things. So I think that's kind of like the crux of a lot of times when we deal with compliance, right? I think what's exciting in the space now, and what's exciting for businesses, is that compliance is no longer just a meeting of a requirement, right? It's now being used as a way to prove that you're different from another person, right? So how AI is doing that is that, traditionally we used to, in the industry, used to do it once a year. We used to do it on Excels, on paper, right? And sometimes even through multiple documents, right? But with AI right now, like the ability to collect that data, the ability to get the right data at the right time, right, has really changed that game. And on top of that, we've also seen beyond AI, beyond like just automation, right? People are using our tools together with their own favorite, LLMs as well, right? So what that also means is that we're very open to that, because the idea is that data is still data, right? But people have different preferences of how they want to do their work. But at the end of the day, we are also bringing a platform, a service that helps them to achieve their goals, right? So in that context, like we're more than happy to see people bring their own LLMs, bring their own automation to the table. We do have our own automations as well, but what's also happening is that this marriage of or blending of different scopes now is really what's exciting as well, because what it does is that now the demand for me to personalize for you is no longer on my side, right? You can bring anything that is personable to you, right? But then what we can bring is to show you, like, here's how's the structure, like here's how you arrange the data, here's how you use the data for your partners, your auditors, your vendors. So right now, with that said, you have this amazing blend of different requirements, but still the same goal, right? So I think that's how AI now has also transformed, right? And this is a recent thing as well, since the introduction of like MCPs and all the traditional CLIs as well. Those are functionalities that are brand new, right? Because Anthropic introduced some of these things, and it's only less than 3 years. So I think that's what's really changing in the market right now. People are seeing different flavors, but then the important thing is they're reaching the same goal. I think that's what's exciting. Yeah.
It sounds really impressive. And I think it's opened so many doors for us to, do different things that we want to really do and want to achieve in compliant work, as maybe it's really liberating. So I think it's really something that we can be very impressed by what AI can help us to achieve today. And it's something that everyone like to talk about. But since you just mentioned something, that please allow me to circle back a little bit about this problem that maybe not a lot of people are talking about, which is the use of AI in most businesses nowadays. I have observed and seen employees start pasting or inputting client data and information into AI tools, although we have policies to manage it. So what is the real issues that we are facing now, and what should we do about it?
Well, it's a very valid question, right? It's kind of like if you don't want to put everything of your life on the internet, right? Although sometimes some people post every day, but just realize that even if you post every day, that's not your whole life, right? So I think in the same context of how we work with AI, right? What's happening now is that there's a few steps, right? I think the first thing is realizing, right? Realizing that similar like to the internet, right? If you put it out there, it's out there, right? So if you use AI for some of your personal data, right? Just expect it to come back up, right? So how do you then deal with that? So first thing is awareness, right? We want people to be aware that this is the process, this is the reality. So don't put things that you don't want the world to fight, right? I think that's always the basic of the internet. I think the next phase is also how do you protect people who don't understand as well, right? And what we've seen in the market, so we ourselves and partners that we work with, we've seen really technology that is now able to not just um, ring fence or like guard the AI. Because traditionally, what people would do is they would choose to allow or disallow. So it's a yes, no. So is it AI or no AI, right? But as we know, we are a stubborn society right now, right? You cannot stop us from all these things. So how then do you marry that part of using AI but safety? So we've seen a lot of tools and even tools that we worked with today, whereby now there are ability to sort of intercept, ability to stop some of these things, right? Sometimes when you build your own sites right now, you put your own like addresses, your own emails, or even sometimes your secrets, which is in the tech world, we these things actually unlock access to things, right? So I think what's happening is that we're seeing AI now, AI security, AI protection now moving to a state whereby we're allowing people to still use it, but then we're helping them to either alert or stop them if they before they go out the door. Right. So I think that's also how the market is changing, right? And I think through the awareness, through the use of the right tools and the right settings, and then now also for the last piece is where you could get someone that actually can protect you, right, while you're using it, so that you don't feel that because the human problem is that if you stop me from using it, right, I just don't use it altogether, right? But that's not the way as well, because we know that AI is already here to stay. So I think these are the few things that we realize that everyday people don't realize. But then these are crucial things for using AI, right? So you just have to know, like, where the data goes, what does it do, uh, how do you know that? You have to educate yourself more.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for the answer. And I think it's very profound in detail and allow all of us as audience to think about our use of AI in everyday life, especially in the way that we protect our information and protect the work that we are doing as well. So now I'm curious, as someone who's running Zavior, an AI company doing compliance, how do you personally draw that line for yourself? Where is the boundaries? By which I mean, can you give us one example of something that one thing that you will trust AI absolutely, and another one thing that you will never remove a human from?
I think in what we are seeing in the world today, that it's also different right now is that AI can do a lot of things, right? But we still need the expert to be in the room, right? What we do even in the platform is that we help organizations get to 80%, get to 70%, right? And then give the what we call signals, give the data points for the organization to say, look, I want to take a position, all right? Because here's the thing, I can tell you that you need to have your backups done every single day, right? But you might not have the capabilities or might not have the resources to do that, right? So then it is then the decision of the human, right? So no matter what we do with AI, accountability still falls on us, right? I might use 20 AI agents, but when I produce the work, it is my work, right? It's not the 20 agents. There's nothing to blame, right? So I think that's kind of what we are also seeing and encouraging people to do now, is that AI is here to stay, but AI will do the things that you don't want to do. But what that also does, it allows us to straight away get to the problem of it, right? So for example, we have helped a few companies whereby they go from one compliance framework to another compliance framework, and the traditional way is you hire two different people or you have two different teams working on it, right? But now with technology and tools like ours, now you can actually use that same data, right? And then find the gaps if there are, or reuse them for the next framework. And that framework could be a local Singapore framework to an international framework as well. So it really doesn't matter, right? Because we want people to save the time of that 0 to 70% or 0 to 80%. And then now the user starts making decisions, right? Which in the old days, right, which is not that old, right? We had to hire someone, or we had to hire an internal of our staff, take time from one of our staff to go and do those kind of basic work to get to that level. So I think that's kind of what has changed, and we see that this value that we bring to a lot of companies, right, has really helped them to make decisions. So now my calls, thankfully, are all about decisions, right? It's about, hey, here's what you are, where do you want to go? Here's where your gaps are, how do you want to fix this, right? And now we are into the crux of things. So we're not spending time chasing admin, but now we're making decisions for the company, to protect the organization, and actually protect all the people as well. Yeah.
So does it mean that you can trust AI with data and doing the admin work in processing, researching the informations, but the decisions still stay with the humans?
Yeah. I think for some of us who lead teams, who are managers, who are business owners, right? It's the same trust with people actually, right? We are in the space of hiring, right? There is no perfect human, right? So sometimes we expect AI to be more than perfect, right? So I don't blame if my team does not have the ability to solve the problem, right? It is then our decisions as leaders to solve that problem, right? So it's the same thing with AI, right? Like what happens in the space is that AI would do certain work for us. It will give us certain decisions, but we have to make the call, right? So I think similarly, will I trust a human fully also? The answer is not 100%, right? So I think it's kind of the same way. Yeah, I don't trust AI 100%, neither do I trust humans 100%, right? Because we have to trust maybe data, we have to trust things that are certain, right? And I'm a man of faith, so I can trust God 100%, but not anything else I don't trust 100%, because that's just the reality, right? There are some things that we will miss. There's some things that humans will make mistakes. There's some things that even AI will make mistakes. So hallucination comes from us as humans, right? It's not an AI trait, it's a human trait, actually. Yeah.
We all can make mistakes. Yeah. That's why we need to raise our awareness and better judgment. Yes. Thank you for the very detailed answers, and I believe it's also very personal based on your own experience. So before we drive out the conversation today, I'm gonna ask you one question, and this is the question that every guest in the show will get. So same questions, different answer, different perspective, different timeline, especially with the rise of AI. So please just be very honest. So the question is, imagine 10 years from now, a small business owner come to you and ask you, do I still need human in my compliance team? Or can AI become my compliant person? How do you answer them?
Well, the truth is this, right? It will be a blend, right? So I think the answer is that you still need humans to make the final decision, right? But then what I think will happen is that same human might make other decisions, right? So I think that's what's going to happen as well. And today, even in organizations, we are now doing multi-roles, and AI is enabling us to do multi-roles, right? And I think if we think that we only will have one role in every organization, then I think we're also lying to ourselves, because when you live in your life, right, you are a child to your parents, right? If you're a parent yourself, you are a father or a mother to your children, right? So you have always had multiple roles. It's just that over the years, we become more robotic ourselves, picking one path, right? So I think that's what's also going to happen down the line with AI, that there will be key decision-making process, and we will make more decisions in different domains, right? So I think compliance is just one of it. And we also believe that it's not just compliance, right? Within compliance, there's so many other disciplines. So I think in 10 years' time, we see companies having more data sets with AI, more decisions to make, and then ultimately we also want to educate that company, that organization to make the right decisions. So I think that's the truth, right? Like we don't need to replace humans. We just need to make humans better, if that makes sense. Yeah.
It means the use of AI will empower humans to do a better job and do it more efficiently.
Yes, it's always that way.
I'm just curious, right? With the rise of AI, and you just mentioned about the rise and the mix of human and AI just now, but with the rise of AI that we're having today, have the boundaries that you just mentioned shifted at all in the last 1 year?
Well, I think it's shifting every day. I think that's the truth. I think it's shifting every day. And I think we are all trying to figure out what's the best blend. But I think that's also kind of also why it's exciting, right? We haven't really have it set, right? And I think with that, with movement or with flow comes opportunity, right? I think there's a place in America that is called the Death Valley, right? Why is it called Death Valley? Because water there is still, it doesn't move, right? So I think with AI being dynamic and moving, it's giving everybody opportunity, right? So for those who don't want to move, unfortunately, that's going to be uncomfortable. But what's going to happen is that with movements, right, we all have opportunities. We have opportunities to try new things, do new boundaries, and also go to new places. And yeah, it makes life a bit more interesting. Yeah.
Thank you for the very inspiring answer. And before I let you go, just one last thing. If you have to leave our audience with only one sentence regarding the relationship between AI, humans, and compliant for today's show, what would that sentence be?
I think in the world today, we now have this opportunity to make our dreams a reality with AI. And what that looks like is if you know what you want to achieve, with AI you can, right? If you don't know what you want to achieve, you will definitely struggle to find the things you want. You will take time to get there. So I think if you know what you want, you will make it a reality, because with AI and with other partners or teams that you work with now will be augmented as well, right? Collectively, we can achieve all the goals to even solve any problem in the world. So I think, yeah, if you know what you want, dream it, make it happen. Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn. I think it's very powerful, and it will be something that all of us as audience will sit with it today and think about it and maybe inspire us to do greater things with AI. And thank you for our conversation and for making time for us. And I think this is one of the most authentic and honest conversation that we had in the show. So to our audience, if you really need to look for a reliable and efficient team to handle your cybersecurity, the IT management, data protection, and AI governance, please check Zavior. And their business link is in our description. And thank you for sitting with us until this moment. And I highly recommend you guys to get a free assessment from them to understand where your business stands and what the next step that you need to take to bring your business to the next level.
So that's it for today's episode. Thank you for staying with us until now. And if you have any comments or any guests that you want to see in the show, please just drop into the comment, and I promise I will try my best to read all of them, reply to your questions, and invite a guest to the show. And if you really want to try something new, Inspired just released a pilot for our latest AI recruitment agent, a tool that will help you to hire tech talents in Vietnam smarter, faster, and more efficiently with real evidence and data. Pilot seats are limited, so please just click on the link, be quick, and try something for free.